I skipped my award but took my parents to my brother's tournament. I went no contact. A year later, I made Forbes 30 under 30. My brother found the magazine at his dentist and called. How? Did he? Dad panicked. There are wounds you carry that nobody sees, invisible scars from years of being overlooked and undervalued. For me, that wound tore open the day my parents chose a basketball tournament over my biggest achievement. And in that moment, something inside me irrevocably snapped. I was 29, the founder of a tech security company worth millions, but until that point, my entire life had been an unspoken plea for recognition. Hi, my name is Delmare. And for years, my accomplishments collected dust in the shadow of my brother Travis's standing ovations. Growing up in suburban Pennsylvania, our family looked picture-perfect on the outside. My dad, Robert, was the beloved high school basketball coach, bringing home championships year after year. My mom, Patricia, was the warm fifth-grade teacher everyone adored. Everyone knew the Williams family, especially because of Travis, the basketball prodigy, and my sister, Laura, the effortlessly charming honor student. And then there was me, the odd one out. While Travis dominated the court and Laura charmed everyone, I found solace in a different world entirely. Computers. From the moment my hands touched a keyboard at 7, I was hooked. By 10, I was rebuilding old desktops. At 12, I wrote my first basic program. It impressed my computer science teacher, but at home, barely a ripple. Delmare, come watch your brother practice, Dad would say every Saturday. You might learn something about teamwork. I tried basketball once. The memory still stings. I was 13, all gangly limbs and zero coordination, dropping passes while Dad watched, his disappointment palpable. That evening, he spent 2 hours coaching Travis on his three-point shot. I was alone, coding a basic website. Later, Mom patted my shoulder. Some people just aren't athletic, honey. But Travis has real talent. We need to nurture that. This pattern became the soundtrack of my childhood. When I won the county science fair with a homemade weather prediction program, my parents were 3 hours away at Travis's regional basketball tournament. Mom called afterward, her voice bright but distracted. That's wonderful, honey. Did you take pictures? Travis scored 22 points today. High school brought more of the same. My 16th birthday fell on Travis's championship game. My celebration was a small dinner the following weekend. His victory? A surprise party with 50 people, a professional photographer, and a basketball-shaped cake. The one person who truly saw me was my grandmother, Eleanor, my mom's mother. She'd been a mathematics professor in the 70s, a barrier breaker. She understood my passion in a way my parents never could. Your mind works differently, Delmare, she'd tell me. Some people build with their bodies, others with their minds. Neither is better, just different paths. When I was 15, I showed her an inventory management system I built for her Bridge Club's community library. Her eyes lit up. This is extraordinary, she said. You have a gift. 2 months later, Grandma Eleanor passed away from a sudden stroke. At her funeral, her former colleagues approached me. Eleanor talked about you constantly, one professor said. She was so proud. That night, I cried. Not just for her loss, but for losing the only person who truly recognized what mattered to me. My junior year science project won state recognition. The awards ceremony was a Thursday evening in April. When I reminded my parents, Dad shook his head. That's Travis's playoff game. Scouts from Duke will be there. This could determine his whole future. Mom looked apologetic but firm. Honey, these games run late, and we always take the team for pizza. It's tradition. We'll make it up to you. They never did. I accepted my award in an auditorium filled with other families, an empty seat on either side of me. The local paper ran a small story about my achievement on page 8. Travis's game coverage took the front page of the sports section, with a full-color photo of Dad embracing him after the winning shot. After that, I stopped asking them to attend my events. I poured myself into coding, staying late in the computer lab, learning everything I could. Then came my MIT acceptance letter with a full scholarship. I placed it on the kitchen table. Mom glanced at it. Massachusetts? That's so far away. Wouldn't you rather stay closer to home? Dad barely looked up from his playbook. College is expensive, Delmare. Are you sure this is practical? Computer fads come and go. That same week, Travis received offers from 3 Division I schools with basketball scholarships. My parents threw a barbecue. Neighbors, extended family. The mayor, Everyone was there. A banner read, Travis Williams, future NBA star. No one mentioned MIT or my scholarship. I packed for college that August with a mix of excitement and relief. Finally, I would find my people. As the car pulled away, I watched my childhood home recede in the rearview mirror, wondering if I would ever truly be seen by my family. MIT buzzed with an energy I'd never experienced. For the first time, I was surrounded by people who spoke my language. Nobody looked at me strangely when I talked about coding for 12 hours straight. But despite my scholarship, books and specialized equipment were expensive. I secured 3 part-time jobs, coffee shop shifts, tech support for faculty, and late-night computer lab monitoring. I averaged 4 hours of sleep most nights. You're going to burn out, my academic advisor warned. But years of working alone, while my family focused elsewhere, had prepared me. I was used to pushing myself without external support. During my sophomore year, I was paired with Aaron Feldman for a project. Tall, wire-rimmed glasses, a booming laugh. Aaron's creativity complemented my meticulous technical skills. You code like a machine, Delmare, he said one night. Impressive, but terrifying. When do you breathe? Aaron became my first true friend. We'd stay up late debating technology, share terrible dining hall meals, and cover for each other. Unlike my family, Aaron asked questions about my projects and actually listened. That summer, most students left. Aaron stayed too, inventing a research position so I wouldn't be alone. One sweltering July evening, he burst into our study room with energy drinks and wild eyes. Another major data breach. The security protocols everyone uses are fundamentally flawed. For 6 hours, we sketched ideas, debating a more secure data architecture. By morning, we had the skeleton of something revolutionary, a security framework that adapted in real time to threats. This could be big, Aaron said. Really big. We spent the rest of that summer building a prototype, fueled by ramen and vending machine snacks. When I called home that September, I tried explaining our project. That's nice, dear, Mom said, distracted. Did you hear Travis got selected as team captain? He might break the school scoring record. Dad took the phone. When are you getting a real job, Delmare? Your brother's already been scouted by several pro teams. I hung up, deflated but not surprised. Aaron found me staring blankly at my screen. Family stuff, he asked. I nodded. Well, they're missing out, he said simply. Because what we're building here is going to change the industry. In our junior year, we entered Secure Shield, as we called it, in the university's innovation competition. Our demonstration wasn't perfect. The application crashed once, but the core technology worked. 2 days later, Gregory Winters, a venture capitalist specializing in cybersecurity, offered us $500,000 in seed funding for 20% equity. This solves a problem every major corporation is facing, he said. You could revolutionize data security. Aaron and I incorporated Secure Shield technologies. Our dorm room became our headquarters. We hired 2 classmates. Sleep became a forgotten luxury. By senior year, we had 3 pilot clients, a regional bank, a healthcare provider, and an e-commerce platform. We refined our product, barely noticing graduation approaching. 2 months before, TechCrunch published a feature on promising security startups. Secure Shield received a prominent mention. That evening, I called home, excited to share the news. Travis answered. Mom and Dad are at my game. We're heading to Nationals next week. They're throwing a send-off party this weekend if you can make it. I can't, I replied. We're meeting with investors. Who's we? Travis asked. I realized then I'd never really told them about Aaron or Secure Shield. They'd never asked. Just some business partners, I said vaguely. Hey, good luck at Nationals. Thanks, Travis said, sounding genuinely pleased. So, this work thing you're doing, is it going well? It was the first time anyone in my family had asked about my career in years. Yeah, I said, a small spark of hope igniting. It's actually going really well. After graduation, Aaron and I rented a small office in Cambridge. We hired 3 full-time employees, reinvesting most of our seed money. Secure Shield started gaining traction. Our client list expanded to include 2 Fortune 500 companies. Industry newsletters mentioned our innovative approach. When we hit our 1-year anniversary, we had 11 employees, stable revenue, and growing recognition. For the first time, I allowed myself to believe I had created something truly valuable, something that could define my life beyond the shadow of my family's indifference. Then came the email. Secure Shield had been nominated for the Cybersecurity Innovation Award, one of the most prestigious recognitions in our industry. The ceremony would be at the annual Security Summit in San Francisco, with coverage from major tech publications and industry leaders. Holy shit, Aaron whispered, reading over my shoulder. Do you know how big this is? Our small office erupted. As CEO, I would accept the award if we won, delivering a speech to the industry's most influential figures. That night, alone in my apartment, I stared at my phone. Despite everything, a part of me still craved their approval. With trembling fingers, I dialed the number I rarely called. Mom answered. Delmare, what a surprise. Is everything okay? Everything's great, actually, I said. I have some big news. The company I founded has been nominated for a major award. The ceremony is next month in San Francisco. A pause. That's wonderful, honey. I was thinking. I rushed on. Maybe you all could come. It's a really big deal, and I'd love for you to be there. I can pay for everything. Flights, hotel, the works. The ceremony is on the 15th. Another pause, longer this time. Let me check with your father. I heard muffled conversation. Then Mom returned. We'd love to come, Delmare. It sounds important. My heart soared. After all these years, they would finally see what I had built. I immediately booked 4 business class tickets and reserved rooms at the Fairmont, sparing no expense. I sent detailed itineraries to my parents, Travis, and Laura, along with information about the award. For the next week, I walked with a lightness I hadn't felt since childhood. 8 days before the ceremony, my phone rang during a board meeting. Seeing my mother's number, I excused myself. Delmare, I'm so sorry to do this, Mom began, her voice carrying that familiar apologetic tone. We're not going to be able to make it to your event. The floor seemed to drop beneath me. What? Why not? Travis's team made the Interstate Championship. The tournament is that same weekend, and your father needs to be there to support him. I gripped the phone tighter. The tournament lasts all weekend. The ceremony is just Friday night. You could attend both. Delmare, she said, her voice taking on an edge of impatience. You know your father can't miss this. It's a defining moment in Travis's career. And this isn't a defining moment in mine? I asked, my voice barely a whisper. You know what I mean, Mom continued. You've always been independent with your computer things. Travis needs our support right now. Scouts from professional teams will be watching. Dad's voice came on the line. Son, you know I can't miss this opportunity for your brother. This could determine his entire future. You understand that, right? You've always got these technology awards, but this is Travis's shot. The casual dismissal of years of sacrifice and work struck me like a physical blow. As if what I had built was a hobby, not a career. As if my moment in the spotlight was routine, not exceptional. Right, I said flatly. I understand. We're proud of you, Mom added quickly. And we'll celebrate when we see you next. Maybe you could come home for Easter. I ended the call and stood motionless in the hallway. Aaron found me there minutes later. Board's waiting, he said, then stopped. What happened? You look like someone died. My family can't make it, I replied mechanically. Travis has a basketball tournament. Aaron knew enough about my history to understand. He placed a hand on my shoulder, saying nothing, because nothing needed to be said. That evening, I scrolled through my social media, out of masochistic curiosity. My mother had posted about Travis's tournament. So proud of our boy heading to the Interstate Championship. The whole family will be there to cheer him on. The accompanying photo showed my parents, Laura, 2 aunts, an uncle, and my grandparents, all wearing team colors. They had gathered the extended family for Travis's game, including relatives who lived out of state, the same relatives who declined my invitation because travel is so difficult these days. I spent that night in my office, working until sunrise to avoid the thoughts swirling in my head. The week before the ceremony passed in a blur of preparations. I revised my acceptance speech a dozen times, removing all mentions of family support. The night before flying to San Francisco, I received a text from my mother. Good luck at your computer thing tomorrow. By the way, Travis needs new training equipment. Could you send about $2,000 when you have a chance? I stared at the message. They couldn't attend my defining career moment, but they could ask for money. The irony was almost poetic. The Security Summit ceremony was held in an ornate ballroom at the Palace Hotel. I sat between Aaron and Gregory, dressed in a new suit. The room buzzed with industry leaders. When the announcer called, And the Cybersecurity Innovation Award goes to Secure Shield Technologies. The room erupted. I walked to the stage in a daze, accepted the crystal trophy, and faced the audience. My speech flowed naturally, thanking our team, investors, and clients. The audience responded with a standing ovation. After the ceremony, we celebrated with champagne. My phone buzzed repeatedly with messages from colleagues and industry contacts. None from my family. Around midnight, I checked my phone one last time. A single message from my mother had arrived during the ceremony. Travis scored 30 points tonight. They're advancing to the finals. Could you send that money soon? He needs the equipment before next weekend. No question about the award. No congratulations. Not even a perfunctory "how did it go?" Just another request for money and news about Travis. In that moment, standing in a hotel ballroom surrounded by people who respected my work, something inside me finally broke. The last thread of hope that my family might someday truly see me snapped cleanly in two. A strange calm settled over me, like the silence after a thunderstorm. I knew what I needed to do. The next morning, I woke to dozens of congratulatory emails. Our company's win had been featured in TechCrunch, Wired. Our website traffic had tripled. 3 major corporations had requested meetings. The crystal trophy sat on my hotel desk, catching the morning sunlight. I should have felt elated. Instead, I felt hollow. I scrolled through my phone again, confirming what I already knew. Not a word from my parents, Travis, or Laura. Their silence spoke volumes. Over room service coffee, I opened my mother's text from the previous night. The casual expectation that I would send money while they couldn't even acknowledge my achievement crystallized something I had been avoiding for years. In my family's eyes, my value was purely transactional. Aaron knocked at the door. "We made the business section," he said, tossing the paper onto the bed. "Small mention, but still. You okay? You disappeared early last night." I showed him my mother's text. Aaron read it twice, his expression darkening. "That's..." he began, then shook his head. "I don't even have words." "I do," I said quietly. "It's exploitative, and I've allowed it for years." Aaron sat beside me. "What are you thinking?" "I'm thinking it's time to stop hoping they'll change," I replied. "I've been chasing their approval my entire life, and all I've gotten is disappointment." That afternoon, I met Naomi, my business advisor and friend. "You look terrible," she said bluntly. "Congratulations on the award, by the way." I summarized the situation. Naomi listened without interruption. "Delmare, what would happen if you stopped trying to win their approval?" "I don't know," I admitted. "Yes, you do," she pressed. "You're one of the most analytical people I know. What happens in a system when you remove a negative feedback loop?" "The system rebalances," I replied automatically. "It finds a new equilibrium." She nodded. "Exactly. Right now, your relationship with your family is a negative feedback loop. You seek approval. They withhold it, but take what you offer, and you try harder. What if you just stop participating in that loop?" The idea was simultaneously terrifying and liberating. "You mean cut contact?" "I mean establish boundaries," she clarified, "which might include limited or no contact for a while. Your family has shown they only value what you can give them materially. Maybe it's time to see what happens when that's no longer available." That evening, in my hotel room, I listed every financial contribution I had made to my family over the past 5 years, helping with my parents' mortgage, paying off Laura's student loans, covering Travis's training, funding vacations I was too busy to attend. The total exceeded $150,000. Next to this, I listed what I had received in return: occasional phone calls that inevitably turned to Travis's achievements, requests for more money, and consistent dismissal of my work. The imbalance was stark. I had been buying the illusion of family connection, and it was a poor investment. At midnight, I made my decision. I composed a brief email to my parents. "I've decided to take some time away from family contact to focus on my personal and professional development. I will no longer be providing financial support. Please respect my need for space by not contacting me. I wish you all well." I changed my phone number, created email filters, and unfriended them on social media. I left instructions with my assistant: no calls from my family. The process took less than an hour, but it felt like dismantling a lifetime. The relief was immediate and overwhelming, like setting down a heavy backpack I had carried for so long I'd forgotten it was there. I extended my stay in San Francisco for another week, meeting clients and partners. Without the constant background anxiety of family obligations, I found myself more present and focused. Decisions came more easily. For the first time in years, I slept without waking to check my phone. Upon returning to Boston, I threw myself into expanding Secure Shield. We doubled our development team, opened a sales office in Chicago, and began work on a consumer version of our protocol. I leased a new apartment with a view of the Charles River, bought furniture I actually liked, and started taking weekends off. 3 weeks after changing my number, an email from my mother slipped through my filters. The subject line read, "Where are you?" The message was a single line. "Travis needs the money for his equipment. Why aren't you answering our calls?" No mention of my email. No acknowledgement of my request for space. Just another demand. I archived it without responding and added a stronger filter. 2 days later, a similar message from my father arrived, more accusatory. "Your mother is worried sick." This is incredibly selfish and immature behavior. I blocked their email addresses entirely. With the psychological burden of my family's expectations lifted, I found new energy. I joined a rowing club, started seeing a therapist specializing in family trauma, and developed friendships outside of work for the first time in my adult life. 6 months into my self-imposed family exile, Secure Shield secured a $15 million series of funding round, valuing our company at $70 million. We expanded to 35 employees across 3 offices. I began mentoring young entrepreneurs, finding unexpected fulfillment in helping others navigate challenges I had faced alone. Through this program, I met Eliza, a brilliant software engineer running her own education tech startup. Our professional relationship quickly evolved into friendship, then something deeper. Eliza was the first person I fully opened up to about my family. We were having dinner when she asked about my parents. "I don't speak to them," I said simply, waiting for the usual uncomfortable reaction. Instead, she nodded. Family estrangement is more common than most people realize. I didn't speak to my father for 3 years after college. He made some very poor choices. I needed space to build my own life. Her understanding was like a key unlocking something inside me. That night, I told her everything. "You didn't cut them off," she said when I finished. "You just stopped letting them cut pieces out of you." With Eliza's support, I continued therapy and gradually built what my therapist called a chosen family. People who valued me for who I was, not what I could provide. For the first time, I felt truly seen and accepted. 1 year after winning the Cybersecurity Award, Secure Shield was nominated for Forbes' 30 Under 30 list. When the Forbes reporter asked about my background, I spoke. About MIT, mentors like Gregory, colleagues like Aaron. I didn't mention my family. 3 weeks later, my phone rang. "Is this Delmare Williams?" "This is Jessica Tanner from Forbes. I'm calling to inform you that you've been selected for our 30 Under 30 list." The magazine would be published the following month. When the issue hit newsstands, I bought a copy and took it to dinner with Eliza, Aaron, and Naomi. We toasted with champagne as they read the article aloud. "To Delmare," Aaron said, raising his glass, "who proved that success is the best revenge." I smiled but shook my head. Not revenge. Liberation. That night, as Eliza and I walked along the river, she squeezed my hand. "How does it feel being recognized like this?" I considered the question. It feels like validation. Not that I needed external validation, but it's nice to know that what we built matters. That I made the right choice focusing on my own path. "You did," she said simply. "And I'm proud of you for having the courage to do it." That validation, both personal and professional, was something my family had never provided. Now I had found it elsewhere, built on a foundation of mutual respect rather than obligation. And it was infinitely more satisfying than the approval I had chased for so many years. The 6 months following our Forbes recognition transformed Secure Shield from a promising startup to an industry leader. Our client base expanded to include Fortune 100 companies and government agencies. Our staff grew to 50 employees. I traveled constantly, pitching, speaking at conferences, meeting investors. It was exhilarating but exhausting. Eliza understood. Sustainable success requires sustainable practices, she'd remind me, gently taking my laptop when I tried working through dinner. With her encouragement, I established boundaries. No email after 9 p.m., actual weekends off, regular therapy sessions. These practices, initially uncomfortable, became essential. My therapy sessions increasingly focused on processing my family history. You've spent most of your life trying to earn love through achievement, Dr. Martin observed. That's a pattern worth examining. He was right. Even with my family removed, I sometimes caught myself working to exhaustion, seeking validation through accomplishments. This realization led me to explore interests outside work: woodworking, classical piano, volunteering at a youth coding program. These activities nourished parts of myself I had neglected. Aaron noticed the change. "You're different lately," he said. "Calmer, more present." "I'm learning that success includes more than work," I replied. "You spent your whole life proving yourself to people who weren't paying attention," he said. "Must be nice to finally stop running that race." His observation was accurate. For the first time, I was building a life based on what fulfilled me. Our company continued its growth. Secure Shield closed a $20 million Series B funding round, valuing the company at $100 million. Media coverage expanded to mainstream business outlets. I appeared on CNBC, wrote a column for the Wall Street Journal, was profiled in Business Insider. This visibility attracted acquisition offers, but we declined, focused on building an independent company. We launched a consumer version of our security protocol, exceeding projections with 50,000 subscriptions in the first month. Throughout this period of intense growth, I maintained my personal boundaries. I declined family-themed media opportunities. When pressed about my family, I offered polite but firm deflections. "I prefer to keep my personal and professional lives separate," or "I'm here to discuss our security solutions, not my family dynamics." As the holiday season approached, Eliza and I planned a 2-week vacation to New Zealand, my first extended break. The evening before our departure, Eliza gave me an early Christmas gift, a vintage pocket watch with an inscription inside. "Time belongs to you now. Use it wisely, to replace the time you spent seeking approval from people who couldn't give it," she explained. "This is yours to spend however you choose." The gesture moved me deeply. It acknowledged where I had come from and how far I had traveled. I was learning to value myself independently of external validation. 2 days before Christmas, relaxing at a secluded lodge in New Zealand, I received an email from our PR director. Forbes had published their annual 30 Under 30 issue. I thanked her for the update and set my phone aside, choosing to remain present. This small decision, prioritizing my personal life over professional validation, marked a subtle but significant shift in my relationship with success. On the flight back to Boston, I reviewed the year's achievements. By any objective measure, it had been an extraordinary period of growth. Yet, the achievement that meant most wasn't listed in any business report. It was the quiet realization that I had finally stopped measuring my worth through others' approval. I had built a life aligned with my values, surrounded by people who genuinely cared for me, engaged in work that mattered. The freedom from seeking validation from those unwilling to give it, more valuable than any industry award or magazine feature. It was the peace that comes from finally recognizing your own worth, independent of others' inability to see it. Landing in Boston, I felt genuinely excited to return to work, not from obligation, but from genuine engagement. The company was thriving. My relationship with Eliza was deepening. My personal well-being had never been stronger. Little did I know that while I had been building this new life, the past was about to make an unexpected return. On a Wednesday afternoon in February, exactly a year and 2 months after I cut contact, my assistant knocked on my office door. "There's a Laura Williams on line 3, she said. "Says she's your sister. She's called 4 times today." My pulse quickened. "Did she say what it's about?" "Just that it's urgent family business." I hesitated, then nodded. "Get her number. I'll decide later if I want to call back." After she left, I sat motionless. I hadn't spoken to Laura or any family member since that night in the hotel room. Why now? Out of curiosity, I dialed Laura's number from my personal cell. She answered immediately. "Delmare, is that really you?" "It's me." I confirmed, my voice carefully neutral. "What's going on?" "You're famous," she blurted. "You're in Forbes magazine. Travis found it at his dentist's office yesterday." The moment felt surreal. After more than a year of silence, this was what prompted contact. "That's what's urgent?" I asked. "No. I mean, Dad's furious." Travis called him panicking, saying, "How did he get in Forbes without us knowing?" "Mom's been crying. Everyone's freaking out because apparently you're some big successful CEO now." I closed my eyes. Laura, I've been a CEO for almost 4 years. The company has been growing for years. This isn't new information. Well, it's new to us. The article says your company is worth $100 million. You have 50 employees. You've invented some security thing that big banks use. Her voice cracked slightly. Why didn't you tell us? The irony was almost too much. I tried, Laura. For years, I tried telling all of you about my work. No one was interested. The last straw was when you all skipped the industry awards ceremony to attend Travis's basketball tournament. Silence stretched between us. Finally, Laura spoke softly. I remember that. I wanted to come to your thing, but Dad said we needed to support Travis as a family. And now you're calling because you saw me in a magazine. No, she said quickly. Well, yes, that's what prompted it. But I've actually been thinking about you a lot, trying to find a way to reach out. The magazine just gave me the push I needed. I remained skeptical. What do Mom and Dad want? More money. Laura's voice hardened. That's not fair. They're upset because their son disappeared and is suddenly in national magazines. They have a right to be concerned. Concerned or angry they missed their chance to benefit from my success. Both, probably, she admitted, surprising me with her honesty. But mostly they're hurt and confused. We all are. You vanished without explanation. I sent an email clearly explaining my decision. A 3-sentence email after years of family relationship? That's hardly adequate. She had a point, though I was reluctant to acknowledge it. What do you want from me, Laura? Her answer came quietly. Coffee. Just a conversation. Just me, no one else. I have things I want to say to you, and I think you deserve to hear them. Against my better judgment, I agreed. Sunday arrived cold and clear. I spotted Laura immediately. She looked both familiar and strange. You look good, she said after an awkward greeting. Success suits you. I'm happy, I replied simply. That's what suits me. We exchanged surface-level updates. She was teaching high school English, engaged to her college boyfriend. Travis was playing semi-professional basketball. Finally, Laura set down her coffee cup decisively. I owe you an apology, Delmare. We all do. But I'm the only one here, so I'll start. I hadn't expected this. For what specifically? For being complicit in how the family treated you. For accepting the narrative that Travis was the special one who deserved all the attention. For not speaking up when you were consistently overlooked. Her eyes glistened. For being so wrapped up in my own relationship with Mom and Dad that I didn't notice how much you were hurting. The sincerity in her voice caught me off guard. Thank you for saying that. Reading that article about you, she continued, it made me realize how little I knew about your life, your accomplishments. The fact that you've built something genuinely important. She shook her head. And the worst part is, it's not because you didn't try to tell us. It's because we didn't listen. No, you didn't, I agreed quietly. The way Travis reacted when he saw the magazine was telling, she continued. He was angry. Actually angry that you'd succeeded so dramatically without his knowledge. Like you'd somehow stolen something from him. And Mom and Dad. Laura sighed. Mom cried because she realized she doesn't know you anymore. Dad oscillates between pride. He's telling neighbors his son is in Forbes, and resentment that you cut contact. They're both struggling to reconcile their image of you with the person you've become. The person I always was, I corrected. They just never saw it. She nodded slowly. That's fair. And that's why I wanted to talk to you. To acknowledge that we failed you as a family, that I failed you as a sister. Her words loosened something tight in my chest. Not forgiveness exactly, but perhaps the beginning of understanding. What happens now? I asked. They want back in my life because I'm successful? They want back in your life because they miss you, Laura said, then added honestly. And yes, probably because your success has forced them to reconsider their perception of you. But mostly, I think they're realizing what they lost. I wasn't ready to re-establish contact with my parents or Travis. The wounds were still too fresh. But this conversation with Laura offered something I hadn't expected, acknowledgement of the hurt without excuses or deflection. I need time, I told her. And if I ever decide to have any contact with Mom and Dad again, it would need to be with professional support, a family therapist. Laura nodded. That's more than fair. I'll respect whatever boundaries you set. As we parted, she hugged me briefly. I'm proud of you, she whispered. Not because you're in Forbes or running a successful company, but because you had the courage to break patterns that weren't serving you. I wish I had that kind of courage. I walked home in the winter sunlight, feeling oddly lighter. The conversation hadn't resolved everything. Nothing could, but it had cracked open a door I thought permanently sealed. Over the next week, the rest of my family made contact attempts. Travis sent a LinkedIn request. "So, you're a big shot now and can't even call your brother?" Class act. I declined. My father emailed my work address. "Your mother and I are disappointed that you've achieved such success without sharing it with your family. We raised you to value family above all else." This behavior shows a concerning lack of gratitude. No congratulations, no acknowledgement of their role, just criticism and entitlement. My mother's approach was more emotional. "My heart breaks every day not knowing how you're doing. Now I find out from a magazine that my son is successful and didn't think to tell his own mother. What did we do to deserve such treatment?" These messages confirmed that reconnection, if it happened at all, would require significant work and professional guidance. Without acknowledgement of the patterns that led to our estrangement, any reconciliation would simply reinstate the same dysfunctional dynamics. I shared the messages with Dr. Martin. "What do you want?" he asked. "Not what you think you should want, or what would make others happy. What do you, Delmare, actually want regarding your family?" I considered the question carefully. "I want acknowledgement of the patterns that hurt me. I want a relationship based on mutual respect rather than obligation. I want connection without exploitation." He nodded. "Those are reasonable desires. The question is whether your family is capable of providing them." "Laura might be," I said. "The others? I'm not sure they even see the patterns, let alone want to change them." "Then perhaps start there," he suggested. "One relationship at a time, with clear boundaries and realistic expectations." That evening, I called Laura and proposed continued communication between us, with the possibility of eventually exploring family therapy if genuine interest emerged from our parents. She agreed immediately, expressing relief that I wasn't shutting the door entirely. For the first time, I was approaching family relationships from a position of strength rather than need, choosing connection based on health, rather than seeking validation I might never receive. Whatever happened next would be on my terms, guided by what served my well-being, rather than others' expectations. The power dynamic had fundamentally shifted, not because of financial success or public recognition, but because I had finally recognized my own worth, independent of their ability to see it. 6 months after that first coffee with Laura, I sat in a comfortable office overlooking Boston Harbor. Dr. Suzanne Levine, a family therapist specializing in estrangement and reconciliation, reviewed her notes. "Today will be challenging," she reminded me. "First meetings usually are. Remember our discussion about expectations and boundaries?" I nodded, trying to calm my racing heart. After months of individual preparation, I had agreed to meet my parents in a controlled, therapeutic environment. Laura would attend as support. Travis had declined, calling the whole process unnecessary drama. When my parents entered the room, the sight of them hit me with unexpected force. My father looked older, gray dominating his once dark hair. My mother seemed smaller somehow, her confident posture diminished. For a moment, we simply stared at each other across the emotional chasm of 18 months without contact. Dr. Levine guided introductions and set ground rules. No interrupting, no accusatory language, uninterrupted time to speak. My father spoke first, his voice carrying the authoritative tone I remembered. "I don't understand why we needed a therapist to talk to our own son," he began, looking at Dr. Levine rather than me. "In my day, families work things out privately." "Robert," Dr. Levine said gently, "remember our discussion about open communication. Try expressing your feelings directly to Delmare." He sighed heavily, then turned to me. "Fine. I feel confused and hurt. You disappeared without explanation, ignored all our attempts to contact you, and then we find out from a magazine that you're some big success. It feels like a betrayal of family values." I noticed he still framed everything in terms of his experience, with no acknowledgement of mine. Some patterns ran deep. My mother's turn revealed more awareness. "I miss you," she said simply, tears gathering. "And I realize we may have contributed to this situation more than I initially understood. Laura has helped me see some things differently." Laura caught my eye and gave a small nod. She had been doing significant emotional labor within the family during my absence. When my turn came, I spoke carefully, drawing on months of preparation with Dr. Martin. I didn't cut contact on a whim or to hurt you. I did it as a last resort, after years of feeling unseen and undervalued. The award ceremony was just the final instance in a lifelong pattern. What pattern? My father interrupted, earning a gentle reminder from Dr. Levine. The pattern, I continued, where Travis's activities always took priority, where my achievements were minimized or ignored, where I was expected to provide financial support without receiving emotional support in return. My mother flinched at this last point, while my father's expression hardened. That's not fair, he protested when allowed to respond. We supported you. We paid for your education. My scholarship paid for my education, I corrected. I worked 3 jobs to cover living expenses. Well, we would have helped if you'd asked, he countered. I did ask several times. You said investing in Travis's basketball training was the priority because he had real potential. My father had no response to this. For perhaps the first time in our relationship, he seemed genuinely at a loss for words. Dr. Levine guided us through 2 hours of similarly difficult exchanges. By the end, little was resolved, but something important had occurred. Truth had been spoken aloud, without minimization or denial. It was a small first step on what would likely be a very long road. This is a process, Dr. Levine reminded us. Today was just the beginning. I encourage everyone to reflect on what they heard. In the elevator afterward, Laura squeezed my hand. You did great. That couldn't have been easy. It wasn't, I admitted, but it was necessary. Over the following months, we continued family therapy alongside my individual sessions. Progress came in small increments. My father struggled the most. His identity was so wrapped up in Travis's athletic achievements that acknowledging his neglect of my path required dismantling core beliefs about fatherhood and success. My mother proved more adaptable, gradually expressing genuine interest in my work. During our 4th session, she made a breakthrough admission. I think I focused on Travis because I understood his world. Sports, popularity, those were familiar. Your technology interests intimidated me. It was easier to celebrate what I comprehended. This honest self-reflection opened the door to authentic connection. We began having monthly dinners, just the 2 of us, where she asked thoughtful questions about my company and relationship with Eliza. Slowly, she became someone I wanted in my life rather than someone I felt obligated to accommodate. My relationship with my father evolved more slowly, with frequent setbacks. A pivotal moment came when Travis's development league team folded, ending his professional basketball aspirations. My father's identity, so long defined by Travis's athletic promise, required significant reconstruction. During this difficult transition, I offered to connect Travis with contacts in sports technology companies. My father initially interpreted this as pity. Only after several heated therapy sessions did he recognize his own pattern of valuing certain types of success over others. I pushed Travis toward basketball because I understood it, he finally admitted. I ignored your interests because they made me feel inadequate. That was my failure, not yours. This admission, though painful for him, marked a turning point. For the first time, he saw me clearly, not as an extension of his expectations, but as an individual who had forged his own path despite, not because of, family support. Meanwhile, Secure Shield continued its growth. We expanded to 75 employees across 4 offices, with clients in 12 countries. Our consumer product reached 200,000 subscribers. Eliza and I moved in together, blending our lives and work in a penthouse apartment overlooking the city. Her education technology company partnered with school districts nationwide. We complemented each other professionally and personally, each understanding the demands of building something meaningful. During a company retreat in Vermont, I found myself sharing more about my family journey with Aaron than ever before. We sat by a fire, nursing whiskeys. I never thought reconciliation was even possible, I admitted, let alone something I might want. Aaron studied me thoughtfully. You're different now, stronger. You're approaching them from a place of choice rather than need. That's exactly it. I realized I don't need their approval anymore, which paradoxically makes it possible to have a relationship that isn't based on seeking validation. He raised his glass, to building a life so good that reconnection becomes a choice, not a necessity. As fall gave way to winter, Eliza and I hosted a dinner party. The guest list included Aaron and his girlfriend, Naomi, and her husband, and for the first time, Laura and her fiancé, James. This small integration of family and chosen family represented a new chapter, one where I defined the terms of connection rather than desperately seeking inclusion. During dinner, Laura raised her glass to Delmare, who had the courage to break unhealthy patterns and the wisdom to know which connections were worth rebuilding. The toast touched me deeply, acknowledging both the painful break and the careful reconstruction. Not every relationship could or should be salvaged, but some, with proper boundaries and mutual respect, could evolve into something healthier than before. 2 years after cutting contact, I stood in Central Park on a crisp October morning, waiting for my parents. They had traveled to New York for a weekend visit, their first trip to see me, rather than expecting me to return home. This small gesture of effort on their part represented significant progress. As they approached, I noticed my father carrying a small package. After greetings and a slightly awkward embrace, he handed it to me. "I found this in the attic," he explained. "Thought you might want it." Inside was a battered circuit board. My first computer building project from age 11. I had assumed it was discarded decades ago. "You kept this?" I asked, genuinely surprised. My father looked uncomfortable. "Your grandmother insisted," he said. Someday we'd understand how special it was. Grandma Eleanor, even after her death, was still advocating for the part of me my parents couldn't see. The realization brought unexpected emotion. "Thank you," I said simply. "This means a lot." We walked through the park toward the restaurant where Eliza would meet us for lunch. The conversation wasn't effortless, but it flowed more naturally than I would have thought possible 2 years earlier. We were establishing a new relationship, not perfect, but more balanced and honest than before. That evening, after my parents returned to their hotel, Eliza found me examining the old circuit board. "Important artifact?" she asked. "Evidence that I was always who I am," I replied, even when no one was looking. She rested her head on my shoulder. "The people who matter see you now, including yourself. That's the most important part." And that was the deepest lesson of this journey. Learning to see myself clearly and value what I found there, regardless of others' ability to do the same. Breaking the pattern of seeking external validation had freed me to build a life aligned with my own values, rather than others' expectations. The relationship with my family would always carry complications. Some wounds heal but leave scars. Some patterns can be modified but never entirely erased. But I no longer measured my worth through their perception. I had learned to trust my own evaluation, to build connections based on mutual respect rather than a desperate need for approval. In the end, the greatest achievement wasn't the company valuation, the industry awards, or the magazine covers. It was the internal freedom that came from finally recognizing my own value, independent of anyone else's ability to see or acknowledge it. Have you ever had to create distance from people who couldn't see your value? How did you find the strength to establish healthy boundaries? Share your stories in the comments below. If this journey resonated with you, please subscribe and hit the like button to help others find this story. Remember that sometimes the family we choose brings more healing than the family we're born into. Thank you for listening, and I wish you the courage to value yourself, even when others can't.